Rent is like reason gyms went out of business in COVID wasn't really COVID. It was rent.
A lot of
it was, they were just barely holding on, barely keeping their head above water with the rent. And the second just the slightest dip happened, and rent is still their biggest nut. We all know, rent is generally your biggest nut when you're, and I don't take this the wrong way for anyone listening, like an unsophisticated business, rent's generally your biggest nut. A sophisticated business, HR, payroll is your biggest nut. It just, it flip-flops as you kind of climb in your business trajectory. But guys, keep rent manageable. It's the one thing, it's your biggest fixed cost. And it's just the one thing you never, if you look back on it, be like, I'm out of business because I let my ego get in the way because I wanted to have this big building. And I had these grand visions of a fucking palooza of a gym with 480 members and 10,000 square feet, when really I could be making $7,000 more per month if I would have cut my ego out and taken a smaller building with a less expensive rent.
At Active Life, we believe that the healthcare clinic of the future is the gym.
Everybody starts with the best case scenario in mind.
Never sell anything to anybody who is not in the market for what you have.
The only reason we work out is to create the opportunity to recover.
And the healthcare provider of the future is the coach.
And this is why you guys need to get paid well, because what you're doing is really, really hard work.
Stu Brauer, you're not a stranger. You're not a stranger. Welcome back to the show.
I appreciate it. Did you happen to chief about 3 packs of cigarettes before recording? What's going on here, bud?
At the same time, I took 60. Is that how many cigarettes are in a pack? 20.
You sound like my favorite bartender. She's 68 and she has one of those tracheotomies.
That's, you know what? I do sound like I have a tracheotomy right now. For those of you listening, I don't have a tracheotomy, nor did I stuff 60 cigarettes in my mouth and light them at the same time. I'm just a father of 3 daughters, a husband of a wife, all of whom contracted something and shared it with me. And so here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. The best is actually when I sneeze, because I don't have the ability to go with my normal tone. So my sneezes sound like a teenage girl, which is like a scream and then a chew. It's rough. It's rough. I'm trying not to sneeze in public.
I wish you a quick and speedy recovery, my friend.
I appreciate that. I imagine my recovery will be timed up with when my wife sleeps through the night again. It's like having an infant all over again.
Yeah.
I love you, babe. Not that she listens. She doesn't listen to the show. She gets enough of me at home. Stu, you transitioned from gym owner to landlord, and you're running with some good marketing shit that you retired from the fitness business, which is kind of true. It's mostly true. I want to hear about it.
I look at like Brett Favre. Brett Favre retired from football, but that motherfucker is still slinging Wranglers.
He is
right?
slinging Wranglers.
I've retired from the micro gym industry 100%. Let me backdrop that for a second. I still own all of Urban Movement and the IP. Mm-hmm. So who knows? Maybe it pops back up sometime in the future. But as far as I can see from this perspective now, I am 100% retired from the micro gym industry. I will continue creating the content. I will continue with WTF Gym Talk and the consulting and then some other ventures and things like that. But from that career, which that's all I've had since I've really been in this thing. I consider myself retired.
Well, Stu, the reason I want to talk to you today, there's a few. The reason why I wanted to record with you today, I talk to you almost every day. The reason I wanted to record talking to you today is because I think that what you did, first of all, I was at your gym back in 2018. And when I was there in 2018, you had just moved into the space. It was maybe, a year?
Yeah.
And you told me you were going to do exactly what you just did. You weren't sure when it would happen. You weren't sure exactly what the path to getting there was, but you were already talking about, if we're going to license Urban Movement or run a franchise, we're going to do it in 3,500 square feet or less. So even though this building has 10,000 square feet, our coaches only run classes in 3,000 square feet of it. So, and you talked to me about you took out a big SBA loan to do a bunch of the renovations in the space to make it amenable for a gym and for somebody else to rent it in the future. So for anybody who would be on the hate train right now saying, oh my God, I wish I could get lucky like Stu did and buy a building that matures in value that everybody wants to rent. I can vouch that you planned this from the very beginning.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And I think too often many micro gym owners think of the idea of I can buy a building in which my mortgage will be less than my current rent from a landlord. Mm-hmm. And which is, you're probably right. You are probably 100% right. I never looked at it like that. I never looked at it as cheap rent. I looked at it as I'm a gym owner. I don't have a 401k. I'm a moron. I don't even know what a 401k. What is that? A laser? I don't fucking know what a 401k is. I don't have one. You know what I have? I've got a business that is cash flowing like crazy. And this is a business that I've built, and I don't know what to do with my money. I don't buy watches and big fancy cars and all that. So what I do know from my limited search into the world to educate myself is dirt is where wealth is for the majority of Americans. So I wanted to go purchase some dirt with the idea that it wasn't meant to be for a cheaper rental scenario for my gym. It was dirt, and designed the building in a way that it would attract another tenant. And that just so happened to be craft brewery. There's a craft brewery called the Unknown Brewery in Charlotte, North Carolina. From my old South CrossFit South End location, it was exactly half a mile. And I would go there often. And I designed Urban Movements building exactly to the T as to what Unknown Breweries was, Unknown Breweries was, because I hoped that that kind of a business would eventually look at my building and offer me a significant amount more to lease my building than what my mortgage was.
You know, it's funny that you say it like that. I never actually thought of it as a brewery myself, but having been in the cider, whatever you would call it, next door, the layout is exactly the same as what you built. So for people who haven't been there, the way that Stu's gym works is you could probably fit 50, 60 people in the front lobby area of the gym if you had tables and set up and stuff like that where they could enjoy some beers, hang out, and then you have 8,000 square feet of gym space that could be these huge vats of whatever you're fermenting. Yeah. And there was the spin studio to the right side that you could either make into an office or more fermenting space or more seating space. And there were already windows into the fermenting space. So yeah, when you say it like that,
you got to play chess, not checkers.
That's it.
It's all about playing chess, not checkers.
Yeah. Well, so I want to hear about the rent thing first, because I think that first and foremost, you say you were cash flowing like crazy. And I think that's cool to hear if people know what cash flow means.
Sure.
What's the difference? I want you to explain so that people know what you're describing specifically, the difference between it was really profitable and it had great cash flow.
Sure. So, we have revenue, let's call it gross revenue and gross profit. My gym, the best I ever did, and this isn't a crazy numbers. I've got plenty of clients who do more than this. I mean, I know plenty of gym owners listening to this that probably do more. Best I did consistently was $500,000, 500,000.
So like 40K.
But I did sort of 26. Yes, correct. 41.6, I think is what it came out to. But I held a 26, maybe teetering on 27% profit margin. And with the money that I took out of the business, I did not buy a home.
So
Can
I put some color on that? What that means for people listening is after you paid yourself a salary, right? You paid yourself a salary to run the gym.
Correct.
What can I ask what that was?
I think at most I ever paid myself was maybe $8,000 a month.
Okay. So Stu was paying himself right around $100,000 a year, $96,000 a year. And then the gym was effectively putting another $11,000 a month. So another $131,000 a year, if I got my math right. No, I don't know. It's close to that. Into a bank account or into another investment that he wasn't taking for himself. That's the cash flow that we're talking about.
Yeah. And if anyone really wants to see like a 5-year breakdown, I did a very comparable. Not my numbers exactly. My numbers were a little bit better, but it's still, I thought I made a very realistic number. I just did in the weekly newsletter where I broke down a 5-year version of what I did with revenue at this, operating expenses at this, tax at this, owner pay at this, and payroll at this, and showed how over those 5 years, you could sock away enough money within 5 years or less to have the down payment for $1 million plus building.
Would you share us the link and we can just put that in the show notes?
Yeah, 100%. I'll send. Yeah, shoot you over the link. Yeah,
perfect. I appreciate it. So in fact, it's 132 by the way. So Stu was putting 132 a year into cash flow for future investments. He was taking $100,000 a year for himself, and he had full-time staff working the gym for him. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first, I didn't go really full-time staff till probably like year 3.
What I really meant was that the gym was running. There was staff running the gym.
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. And so you own the building. I think a lot of people think about buying a building. They're like, I don't have $1 million. Can you talk about what's that?
Yeah, neither did I.
Right. So can you talk about, for people who want to understand, because even people who don't want to sundown their gym and get into real estate, buying the building might be a smart thing to do. Can you just get into a little bit of the details of why you don't need $1 million to buy $1 million gym, a building?
Correct. So, the way you have 2 different lending options, you have a traditional lending option where you'll probably have to come up with 20 to 30% down and this is a big difference. This is the difference between guys who actually know what they're talking about and guys who headline read of the appraised value of the building. Everyone's like, oh, I got to put 30% down of the building. It cut like, no. You're going to put it on. The bank's only going to finance you to the appraised value. And as people have known in my story, my building costs $960. I only appraised at like $780.
Right. So
that's a fucking shortfall that I had to cover. But anyway, yes, you go ahead with traditional lending, 20 to 30% down of the appraised value that the bank will fund, or you can go an SBA 504 route. And if you go that route, a traditional bank is going to commit 50% of the funds to buy the entire building from the buyer or the seller. A CDC, Certified Development Company, which is going to act through the SBA, is going to put a 40%. And then you, as whoever else, maybe you have a partner that going into this, which I do recommend, you guys are going to come up with 10%. Now, the other things you got to be worried about, shortfalls in your appraisal, any additional zoning headaches and stuff that are expensive that you go through, and then upfit. You can roll an upfit cost into your SBA loan if you were smart enough to do a lot of that legwork ahead of time of applying for financing.
So there were a lot of acronyms thrown out there. I want to make this really simple for everybody. 50% of the money ends up coming from a bank. 40% of the money comes from the SBA, Small Business Association, and how they get it, don't worry about it. 10% of the money comes from you, the investor. And you could find a partner who doesn't even have to own the gym, by the way. And I find this to be a really interesting way to do it. And I think that you did this too. It's someone invests in the building with you because you don't have the capital up front. So you buy the building together with 5% each down. And now that investor who's with you is not going to let you pay chintzy rent as the gym.
No, not at all. And you don't want to. Like the one thing too, I think a lot of people want to when they buy a building, they are insulating themselves from the fair market value of commercial leases in the area. So like, for example, that building I bought for $960, in which me and my partner then put $375,000 into for upfit. So let's say we're talking a $1.3 million total investment. My mortgage on that, or our mortgage on that, $6,700.
$6,700. Yeah.
Yeah, a month, nothing. I mean, pissant. But we charged myself more than that because I was also at the same time, I had these grand visions of another urban movement or licensure. And I didn't want to play in La La Land where I'm paying this ridiculously low rental rate. Because what if every gym owner comes to me and is like, hey, man, your numbers at urban movement look really good. But then they dig and they're like, wait a minute, it's because you charge yourself bullshit rent because you own the building. Like, no, I charge myself a fair market value rent. It just so happened that fair market value shot up extremely quickly. Where I am sitting today, I thought I'd be there by 2026.
Right.
And it just went up a lot faster.
Yeah, it did. Still got U-Hauls parked across the street?
What'd you say?
Do you still have U-Hauls parked across the street?
But that building just got bought too. So that's going to be flipping to whatever the fuck they're going to put there.
I'm sure. So what did you charge yourself in rent?
We were at, I believe I was right around $13 a square foot. So I think we were coming out to, I don't know, call it just around 12
a month.
So yeah, so if my mortgage is 6,700, I'm essentially almost doubling it.
Right. And then what happened was the rental rates went up so fast that you would no longer as a gym owner or as an advisor tell someone open a gym in this space because it's just it's prohibitively expensive to be in that space.
Correct. You know, the math on it, the mortgage on it, for everyone listening, the mortgage on it was right around $8 a square foot. Like the mortgage and my property taxes and all that are paid at around $8 a square foot. We're really profitable, decently profitable at $13 a square foot. It's a nice little profit margin for this small little real estate company that 2 assholes owned. Okay. And then in comes the offers now, and we're gonna be sitting at $32 a square foot. So 1332. That's where this change in my trajectory occurred.
Right. And so you made a dispassionate decision, because I know you like fitness. I know you like owning a gym. I know you like playing the brand game. It's fun. And you looked at it and you're like, well, I can effectively pull in $20,000 above my expenses to own a building.
It was hard. You remember the very first call we did with our group? First time you organized that call and everyone's on it, all the big names and all the very smart people.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first to take the mic and share my thoughts.
First. You were the first.
And I mean, fuck, what was that? It was 2020, right?
Yeah.
And I told you guys, I said, hey, during COVID, I got scared because of COVID. So I put up 3,000 square feet for lease in my building because I had a dead space of 3,000 that I could lease. Nobody wants it though, guys. Everybody wants the whole building, and the offers are good, but if they keep they're getting better every time that comes through. If this keeps going up, I think I might not be a gym owner sometime in the future. And everybody, and I'm very blessed to be a part of this. Everybody was very, very poised with their advice and helped me kind of get over that identity crisis. And I remember that. And I tell that story to this day to everybody who talks to me about this topic.
Yeah. So what Stu's talking about there, for those you don't know what we're talking about, we're in an entrepreneur group together, where we get together with some people who we have a lot of respect for, who respect us, and we talk on a monthly basis. Of course, Stu's been on some fucking airplane or train or, horseback over the last 3 months and hasn't made a meeting. But we talk about what's ailing us in business and in life and what's going well, because it's difficult to find a group of people who understand what you're going through when you play the kind of game that we're playing, because most people around us aren't playing that game. And Stu talked about basically the identity crisis of who am I if I'm not a gym owner? I'm not really sure. And that's the conversation you're alluding to. Yeah.
And it was very helpful, because you're right, that identity crisis and that decision, that path. I am very passionate about fitness. I'm very passionate about urban movement. I mean, just a year prior, January of 2021, I announced the license model.
Yeah.
I mean, I was balls deep. I'm all ready to go. I'm whatever. And then a lot of people ask, like, hey man, how many, maybe this is like 6 months after I announced the license model. Like, bro, how many licenses you got signed up? Like 0. They're like, what the fuck? What happened? I thought you had all this interest. I'm like, we had like 40 gyms applied literally within the first week. But what I couldn't tell anyone was I had to slow roll that. Cause I mean, when I say the leases offers that came in were boom, boom, they got higher and higher and higher and higher. I was like, oh man, if I'm playing projections, I might be leasing this building out like within the year. Mm-hmm. And I did not want to be that kind of dude who's going to sell somebody on a license model, and then as soon as they've signed up for a year, whatever it may be like, oh, by the way, I'm bowing out and I'm shutting down the HQ, my laboratory. I feel like that would have been ethically wrong.
Sure. And I also think it's something to learn from this for everybody who's listening. There's already been a few lessons, and I'm going to recap them in a second, but is you didn't avoid pursuing something fully because something else might be the thing. You were like, no. If I still own this business, I am going full bore into licensing mode. And so I need to be ready to do that. Now, if a better offer comes that is just not reasonable for me to pass up.
Correct. And leases fall apart. I mean, I landed on this lease, but prior to this, there was 5 or 6. I mean, there was one, it was a church coming in, and man, Jesus saves, but Jesus also pays. And I knew I could charge those fuckers whenever I wanted as a church. And I was real excited about that. But these deals fall through at the 25th hour all the time. Even had a purchase offer just under $4 million with a 30-day cash close and turned that down. Because in my head is like, oh, fuck. Well, if these offers, they'll be around. They'll be here later. If they're here now, they'll be there later. And I still want to play gym. And I still had that ego thing, man. I could not get over my own. I kept stepping on my own dick and saying, no, you're a gym owner. That's what you're going to do. Well, and it took a while, but I finally was able to come to terms with my new identity.
Well, the other side of that is if you sold it for $4 million, at the end of the day, you're putting $2.7 million into your pocket and your business partner's pocket, plus the thing that you invested. Let's say that ends up being $3 million altogether. Now you have a $1.5 million stack of cash, no business to operate anymore. you need to do something with that money. I know a lot of people are listening, like $1.5 million. You could live your entire life off of that. Not the way Stu drinks whiskey. So
yeah. Kids are expensive. Lifestyles are expensive. And especially, I mean, no, and not to get political, but you look at like the proposed capital gains taxes that are going out right now at the federal level. I mean, I'm not giving up 40% of my fucking money to capital gains tax. So I'd have to do what they call a 1031 exchange, roll it into another project. So I still wouldn't be able to actually realize that money yet if I had sold it.
Right. And that's some more high level tax stuff that we can have an accountant on and talk to y'all about one day if it's interesting to you. But what I want to go back to is when you bought the building and you leased it to yourself, you didn't give yourself a break on the lease. And I think that it's important for people to understand why this is valuable. When you buy a building, you're effectively saying, okay, another business I'm going to run is be a landlord, right? Like you have to commit to being a landlord. Would you agree with that?
It's 100% too. You're wearing two hats, and you cannot favor your tenant just because you happen to be the owner of the operating business. So your new priority when you do what I've done is your priority is that of a real estate holdings company, because you put the sweat. Like I was broke. I mean, I was broke as fuck when I started this project, and I did all that so that I could have a future retirement option. Generational wealth, whatever you want to call it. Not with a gym, because we can get into this more. There is no retiring like wealthy in a 1-unit micro gym, except for a few outlier examples. Mm-hmm. So for me to like put all this time and effort and money and go broke and all this other shit to make this building happen, and then still favor the gym, just would have made no sense.
Well, your partner would have said no, thank you.
He would. Yeah. And which is honestly one of the reasons why I recommend you get a partner. Number one, especially when we had that shortfall, that appraisal, I would not have been able to cover the shortfall of cash myself. Mm-hmm. So having a partner lowers the risk, but it also, someone who's not involved can make sure you're wearing landlord hat when you're making decisions, not gym owner hat.
Right. And I'm asking these questions specifically because one of the gyms that we work with in particular is in the middle of building a brand new building. Jacksonville, Florida, their gym is busting at the seams. I think they're about 3,000 square feet. And right now they're doing over $60,000 out of the 3,000 square feet, which is
incredible.
It's badass. Their CPA told them that they needed to either find a way to spend a bunch of money or pay it in taxes. So they bought Jeeps.
Sure.
And now they're building a new building. And one of the questions that's sure to come up is, how do we charge ourselves rent? And so I'm glad that you dove into, it's market value on that rent. You need to charge yourself market value until market value is unreasonable, and then either find a new space, rent your market out, or own a building.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, because otherwise you're living in a la la land. If anyone's in Charlotte, North Carolina, you know this. I've been in the news a lot. I'm in a bit of I've got some very angry subtenants. If anyone has been following along with the story, I have two subtenants, a spin studio and a coffee shop, who I'm effectively dissolving their leases.
I didn't know
sucks.
This.
Yeah, I've been there. My lease was dissolved in my previous location. It sucks. This is unfortunately the way it goes sometimes. But with that being said, I have provided those two tenants such a below market value rent that I essentially created a la land for them to operate a business in which that business is not actually economically viable inside of Charlotte or Mecklenburg County, because the rental rate that I'm charging them does not exist. I thought I was being a nice guy when I did that, and I wasn't. I was actually setting them up for future failure, and it's something I really regret.
So I want to go into that a little bit because I didn't know about this. What you're saying, I knew you had the tenants. I didn't know that they were dealing with a problem with them. What you're saying, for people to understand, is let's say that a coffee shop that needed to be 1,000 square feet in Mecklenburg County or in Charlotte would cost, let's just pretend,
1,000-foot coffee shop with a lounge and like just a standalone coffee shop would probably be costing them $4,000, $3,000 a month.
Right. And you're charging them what?
Less than $1,500.
Right. So what that means is a one-man shop, one dude could run this coffee shop on, as a lifestyle coffee shop. As long as he's making $5,000-$6,000 of top line revenue a month, he's good to go.
He's flush. He's good.
Right. And now it's like, okay, well, I would have to, in order for me to leave this place, I would have to go rent a place, dude. This is going to cost me $3,500 a month to make the same amount of money that I'm making right now. It might be in a less desirable area. and I need to double my revenue. And what you're saying is if he was paying the appropriate rent the whole time, he would have had to have set his business up to do that anyway.
Correct. And I went into this because we're obviously talking about the point of gym owners charging themselves a fair market value. Obviously, if you own the building, no one's kicking you out.
Right.
Right. However, let's do this scenario, guys. I get the lease offer like I have now. And I said, okay, Urban Movement, you're out of this building and this 2 subtenants, you're out. The new brewery that I'm leasing it to is in. But let's say I still wanted Urban Movement to play. Let's say I found a building 33,000 square feet down the street and I went to go lease it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the rent for 3,000 square feet. I wasn't even paying that because I didn't charge myself fair market value. So like, that was the other thing. I always thought like, maybe I'm going to open a second Urban Movement. But if my financial model can't support Mecklenburg County rent, then what the fuck's the point?
We just had this with one of our clients. They didn't own the first building, but their landlord sold it. And so they're out in January. And they're in 10,000 square feet right now, and they're paying $6,000 a month in Northern California. And,
wow.
Yes. And they don't need 10,000 square feet, but they're used to having 10,000 square feet. So the owner of the gym comes to me and says, we have an LOI on a new location. It's great. We're getting free rent from now until the end of the year to dissolve the lease. And in the meantime, we're going to be going into this other space that's 9,000 square feet. So very similar. We're not really giving very much up. And I said, hold on. What does it cost you in rent? And he said, $13,000. I said, I know that you appreciate the guidance that we provide you as a company, because you just told me. I'm going to strongly advise you against going into that space, because what gym owners will start to think when they do this is there's $7,000 more in rent. Okay. This guy's going to be he's charging $300 to $400 for a membership. So let's just say it's $300. Every 7 members is $2,000. So the easy math is, okay, he needs 24 members and he's break even. Not a big deal. He's got to just get 24 new members. He's in a better space, better foot traffic, all that kind of stuff. No, there's a cost to all of those members.
100%.
Right. So if the cost on those members is half, then he needs to get at least 50 new members just to break even.
Good rule of thumb. It was taught to me by my incredible bookkeeper, Aaron Smith, and the crew over at Insight Tax. Keep your rent at 25%. Your rent alone, just your rent, at no more than 25% of your monthly revenue. That's a safe number to put it at. And now again, there's some scenarios where you might go higher, like in my case, maybe if you have subtenants, so you have additional revenue streams coming in.
You're a cost. You're a cost.
Correct. But guys,
Active lifers, I have good news for the fitness professionals out there. If you are ready to build a rock solid coaching and training practice, the best place to start is in the Active Life Seminar. Hosted live and online, you're going to learn our signature 9-point movement assessment system, rules for training and programming with pain, and how to make sales feel natural, and so much more. Check out the link in the show notes for more information.
Rent is like reason gyms went out of business in COVID wasn't really COVID. It was rent.
A lot of
it was, they were just barely holding on, barely keeping their head above water with the rent. And the second just the slightest dip happened and rent is still their biggest nut. We all know, rent is generally your biggest nut when you're, and I don't take this the wrong way for anyone listening, like an unsophisticated business, rent's generally your biggest nut. A sophisticated business, HR, payroll is your biggest nut. It just, it flip-flops as you kind of climb in your business trajectory. But guys, keep rent manageable. It's the one thing, it's your biggest fixed cost. And it's just the one thing you never, if you look back on it, be like, I'm out of business because I let my ego get in the way because I wanted to have this big building. And I had these grand visions of a fucking palooza of a gym with 480 members and 10,000 square feet, when really I could be making $7,000 more per month if I would have cut my ego out and taken a smaller building with a less expensive rent.
I just did that with Active Life. And look, I mean, our rent
You're not in the same building that I visited?
No.
You come visit again. See.
You gotta come visit and see the new space. We had the opportunity to say, let's get something like super sexy, and it would cost $15,000 a month, and we could grow into it. I also was looking at buying a building with a 504 loan, and it was like we could grow into this building. And I ended up deciding, no, we're going to take that little space on the second floor across from the grocery store that costs us 1% of monthly revenue in rent.
Yeah.
1%. And let's just try to be flush for a while. Because last time we talked, I told you about how we were giving away Toyota Camrys every month.
Yeah.
So let's be flush for a while. Let's not be irresponsible with our money, and then we'll figure out where we want to go with things. So I understand the shiny object syndrome. Like when I owned gyms, it was like, oh, beautiful space. Let's deck it out. Let's get the best equipment. Let's make sure it's got great foot traffic, and all those things it makes sense. But
Sure.
3,500 square feet, you got a gym. You don't need to be bigger than that.
Correct. And there's ways to have that. You can have your cake and eat it too in the real estate thing. And that's one thing I really hope people like at Urban Movement. Same. If you walked into my building, not to jerk myself off, but it was a great looking facility, aesthetically pleasing. Yep. But I was also able to offset a lot of that because I went bigger than what I needed with a long-term plan, what I did now with the lease in the brewery, but with the short-term plan of I'm gonna have 2 other tenants in here. And actually I'd aim for 3. I just could never lease the 500 square feet on the second floor. Could never find a tenant for it.
What did you do? How did you dissolve the leases?
So in the state of North Carolina, there's a master lease. That was ESC Fitness had the master lease for the entire building with my real estate holdings company. Those 2 other businesses, the spin studio and the coffee shop, were subleases of ESC Fitness. So when the master lease is dissolved, it dissolves everything.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And why are you in the paper? Are they just ripping you up?
They're really upset because they now realize the land rent that I provided for them. They realize that now they can't find anything else local. So there's the whole GoFundMe, the scream, the bitch, the moan. I'm in the papers. Evil. The name isn't very flattering. Landlord, Lord, right? I'm a small business owner like everybody else, and unfortunately, we're just in this situation. But in any city that's growing, I promise you, every month you could find a small business that has been gentrified out. Because, and let's say this. Let's say I went back to them. I said, okay, guys, you can stay, but you got to pay fair market value rent. They'd be out on their own accord. They would voluntarily bow out because they couldn't afford the fair market value rent.
Right.
So.
No, I get it. So I want to push you on something here. I'm curious your take on it. I view you more as an entrepreneur than a fitness entrepreneur. And when I say that, what I mean is I think that if you loved fitness as much as you loved business in general, like just the overall, if it was the only kind of business I want to run as a fitness business, you still would have found a new place for Urban.
I agree.
Okay. So there are gym owners who are going to be listening to this who are like, I love fitness so much. I don't want to ever buy a building with the plan of kicking myself out of it and renting it to somebody else, not knowing where to go. So what is the message for somebody who is buying a building to put their gym in the building because they want the autonomy of I'm the landlord. Something breaks, I don't have to wait on someone else to fix it. I want it to look a certain way. I can do it without asking. It's set up the way that I want it to be set up, all of those things. And ultimately, if I want to sell the gym one day, I can sell the gym and rent to it, or I can close the gym and rent to whoever I want. But right now I can only see myself as a gym owner. You still tell them to buy the building?
I still would 100%. Yes. Cause I do not believe that there is a micro gym model out there that can allow for enough cash extraction, number one, and incubation in an HR setting, meaning the owner is incubated from or preserved from having to get back into the business after maybe being removed for 5, 6, 7 years. I've been removed since 2014 and I'm only 2 employees away from having to get right fucking back to rolling up a bay door at 4 a.m.
Right. So keep going.
Yeah. So, but yes, I would tell you still do it. And if you do the SBA 504, it's kind of built in because there's a 10-year prepayment penalty. And there's also a clause with the SBA 504, which everyone will wonder how I got out of mine. It's a very complicated process. Shoot me a DM and we could talk about it. But the SBA is not in the business of giving out 504 loans to people who are going to create investment properties. That's what I now own, an investment property. Mm-hmm. They are in the business of giving out loans to small businesses who are going to occupy 51% of the building they purchase. Yep. So if you are an owner and you want to continue being an owner, good news. You got 10 years to keep playing owner and you can stay an owner beyond that. And if you ever want to get out and lease it to somebody else, you need to have someone very intelligent who understands how to navigate technical default of an SBA loan. And so I would tell you there's actually guardrails in an SBA 504 that'll keep you owner operated unless you can, talk to somebody who understands that product of the SBA product and how to get around it.
Very interesting. That is something I imagine most gym owners right now are just like, nope, too many letters.
They're not worried about it. Yeah. But let's just go back to that thing. Like, let me ask you this, Sean. Do you think the average single unit micro gym is going to be able to retire on that location, on that business alone?
Truthfully, yes. If there's a big if, gym owners need to mind their money. And what I mean by that is they need to take that cash flow and invest it into something. So no, I don't believe that they're going to be able to work in their gym for 25, 30 years, sell the gym, retire, and have nothing else going on. Because even the way that you're going to be able to sell a gym, there's a lot of different ways to value it, right? But the reality is you're probably not getting more than a few $100,000 out of a really well-run gym, Correct. A really well-run cash flow positive gym. Like if your gym is profiting $250,000 a year profit, you're probably
after capital gains tax, you sell it and you're stuck. You got a small 6-figure kind of payout, maybe.
Right. Like you might get $500,000 for that gym. Because someone might say, all right, in 2 years, if I don't change anything, I get my entire investment back. But so you got $500,000, you're paying $200,000 of that to the Fed. You now have $300,000 to live the rest of your life off of. I believe it's imperative that the whole time you own that gym, you're taking profits and investing them into something else, a different asset that is going to grow over time. So with that caveat, yes, I believe that they can own a gym and retire from it without investing while owning the gym. No, I don't believe that they can.
Yeah. And I think maybe operational definition here could be beneficial for everyone. Here's how I define retire. Webster's English, Oxford, fuckface dictionary, be damned. This is Stu Brauer's definition. Retirement is, it is when you've played a sport, you've held a career, or you've built a business that has been successful enough to allow you to financially no longer need that activity, and it allows you to retire from it before it retires you. Because as I see it, sport, a career, and a business will retire you on a long enough timeline. There's no one that's going to play a sport forever. You're not going to be the CEO of fucking Dell Computers forever. And that business on a long enough timeline, when you get 62 and you can't wake up at 4 a.m, it's going to retire you. So for me, that's what retirement was. Do it well enough. And like you said, invest money, go real estate. And you could take, if anyone's listening, like look up a compound interest calculator on Google, put $500 into an index fund at 40 years old and do that every year until you're 72, 75, because we're all going to live longer. So retirement's maybe a little bit past 60 and you'll have $2, $3, $4 million, whatever that compound interest would be.
On how much money a year?
Probably a couple, $3-4 million, put $500 in every month.
500 a month. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. 500 a month into the S&P. I mean, yeah, that would pretty much, that bet should be probably around $5 million. And by the time you're 70 something, but that's the problem with everyone saying, well, why don't I just invest in the index or in the S&P? Sure. You realize you're going to need 40 years or so to get that return back by the time you retire. Or can you keep your gym open for 40 years, or is it going to retire you before you have a chance to retire from it?
This is why I think having a financial planner is a viable thing to do. And so for example, some people might be like, look, I don't want to have to figure out how to be an investor right now. And I want to make sure that my money is compounding. Hire a financial planner and allow them to help you do it. And maybe it does take longer. Maybe it does take that path, but that's the trade-off. It's today I'm running my gym and I don't want to think about my money long-term. I want someone else to think about my money long-term and I'm willing to have it take longer. I can get a job to bridge the gap if I need to. And I think that that's reasonable, but I think that it's unreasonable to be making enough profit that you just expand your lifestyle in such a way that you're not stocking it away and growing it. Money either grows or it shrinks.
Even when I was CrossFit South End, I never once, and I had every opportunity in the world to go. Never once went to the CrossFit Games. I took one vacation, I think, like a legit vacation. I went for like 4 days to Cancun. All right. All inclusive, cheap as fuck kind of trip. Like, if gym owners are listening to this and you're like, dude, I barely have enough money left over. What can I invest? It is, again, unfortunately, when you set this thing up, your cost of your life was probably higher than what ultimately has ended up happening in current day situation with your gym. I had a guy get on a call with me the other day, and this might seem really mean, but this is exactly what I said to him. He's got 4 kids, about to have a 5th, and they're broke as fuck. And the gym isn't making enough money for that. He goes, what do you think my biggest problem is? I'm like, your pullout game is your biggest fucking problem. What kind of an asshole has another kid when you already have a broke ass business and you can barely make your house payment? Like, you outkicked your business's coverage. You're living above your means, right? Live below your means and invest early. Like the 2 golden rules of any wealth from the scrotum of Warren Buffett. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's just, some of us we're our own worst enemies as business owners. Everything is our own fault. And I think when everyone listens to this and is going to hate on it or like, fuck that, I can't buy a building. Yes, you can. I promise you can. It is not hard. 5 years for you to put away $20,000
each year,
$20,000 a year for 5 years, have $100K, which puts you right on the starting point for being able to buy $1 million building. And I'm in Charlotte. I'm in a tier 2 city. Some of you guys are in rural Ohio. You can buy a $400,000 building, and have a similar trajectory as me.
When I was before I got kicked out of all the CrossFit affiliate owner groups for disagreeing that everything about CrossFit's amazing, I was always like, how are these people building these buildings everywhere? And then I started looking up what it costs to build a building where they are as compared to what it costs to build a building where I am. I'm like, oh, okay. That makes me feel a little bit better. But I was irresponsible early on. I wasn't making these kinds of decisions. I wasn't thinking about how do I get ahead of this game. I was always going to play the market value. I was always going to pay rent.
But like you said, it's one of those things too. Selling a micro gym is hard to do with getting a very good exit. Right. That is very difficult to do. It's because it's such a vulnerable business model, especially if you created a really good community. When everyone, like I've got a guy I'm doing an evaluation on right now. I'm like, please tell me your community sucks. He's like, why? I'm like, because then it won't matter when you and the coaches fucking leave and you sell the business. But if you tell me your community's dope, man, we're at each other's bar mitzvahs and we fucking sleep in tents at each other's houses. And yeah, you're in a lot of trouble when you get rid of that business. But
good job.
Yeah. So again, if we all can accept that exiting via sale is a tough transition for you to retire or exit on your business. If we can say that investing in something like index funds and the S&P just takes way too long and you won't be able to hold on, the business will retire you, then commercial real estate is the only option that I believe you can double dip on. I can still play gym owner. I can, I can build a building my way. I can sell a great building. I have a great gym. And then when I'm ready to settle down, my daughter's about to have my grandson, or I just want to retire to Florida with my wife and pay no capital gains tax, I can sell the building and then take a chunk of that money, put in the S&P and just fucking live off my fucking returns. Or I can go and lease it out like Stu, and I could just make mailbox money every month and then go do other things, maybe adjacent to the fitness industry. Yeah. I believe commercial real estate is really the main best likely option. And I'm really hoping that my story is going to inspire other people to think that it's not reserved for wealthy fucking people. Kids, I didn't know anyone when I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2009, not one human being. Okay. My family is not even close to being wealthy. I am just like many of you. I'm a self-made product of hard work and luck. Okay. And if I can do it, anyone listening to this can, as long as they plan and work smart, not hard. Hard work's fine. We all work hard. The people who are winning are also working very smart.
So I want to talk about luck for a second. Then I want to talk about what you're doing next. You said that you're a product of hard work and luck.
Yes.
And I want to talk to people about how you can make luck more in your favor than otherwise.
Yeah. I got this sign right here. It's my favorite. The crew over at Fuel Hunt, right? Luck favors hard workers. Yeah. I believe luck is what shows up during your journey of hard work. There's nobody sitting at home on the couch watching Squid Game and jerking off and ordering Postmates and just all of a sudden $1 million. You gotta
be a weird person to jerk off to Squid Game.
there's weirder things out there to jerk off to. Way weirder. I've seen them. But like luck, like unless you're working hard and making connections and trying and making effort and making that energy in the universe, luck has nowhere to fit in. Luck shows up when you're in the right place at the right time. That's all it is. I am lucky because I bought probably one of the last sub $1 million buildings in Charlotte, North Carolina. Do you know how I got there? I had tried to buy another building for, I don't know, almost a year, got turned down, rejected. It fell through in the 25th hour. I was in tears. I was so stressed. I mean, like hives, ulcers in my mouth, everything. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to try to buy a building again. I'm just going to go lease something. I need to figure it out because I'm getting kicked out of my current location. And lo and behold, I went into a building that was for lease. You know, he owns the building right next to here too. I'm like, really? Well, what if he just keeps the rental income on that building and sells me this one, takes a big fat chunk of cash from the sale and then sells rental income on the other one. And we were able to sell the idea. I was at the right place at the right time, but only because I was busy working hard. And that puts you in the opportunity for luck. Because if you're sitting around doing nothing, all the luck in the world won't help you, in my opinion.
Well, I look at it like dice, right? Pick a number. Anywhere from 2 to 10, right? Or 2 to 12.
6.
Why'd you choose 6?
I don't know. I just stuck with it.
Right. So the reality is a 7 is the number that's most likely to come up when we roll the dice. So if every time we roll the dice, I choose 7 and somebody else chooses 1 or they choose 2 or 3 or 12 or 11, what's happening is they're going to be like, how do you keep getting so lucky? How are you so much more lucky than me? You just keep doing the same number and it keeps hitting. Well, I understand the game. And yeah, I'm going to get lucky more than you because I stack the odds as much in my favor as possible for luck to find me. You are randomly choosing numbers. So you're not going to get lucky as often as you would like to. That's what I'm describing when it comes to luck. It's a real thing. Yeah. But you need to understand.
I believe it's a 3-part equation. It's skill. You have to be good at something. Mm-hmm. It's hard work, right? And I like to think of hard work as smart work, and then it's luck. Eventually you're gonna be in the right place, right time. You shake enough hands, you kiss enough babies, how many DMs I've just answered someone asking some one-off questions, never pay me $1 in my life. And I spend 30 seconds out of my day or 60 seconds to answer a question. If after I've done 1 million of those, do you think one of those is like, man, that was fucking an incredible answer. I'm actually the CEO of Exponential Fitness. Would you like a $500,000 a year job to be one of our marketing? Like, I don't know, maybe, but that would be lucky if that happened, right? Yeah, 100%. But it's because of the hard work put me in the opportunity to do it.
Well, so now you're going to be a real estate agent.
Now is my thing is I don't think I'm wrong on this retirement option for micro gym owners. And you and me make a ton of content, arguably more than anybody else out there. Mm-hmm. And one thing we don't talk a lot about because we have subject matters that we stay on is retirement and options beyond that. And very few of us are doing it. And I am not one to talk shit on things I don't know. But now I have literally walked that walk top to bottom, front, up and down. So now I can talk. So in January, I am launching, which has been something I've been working on. I actually called you. I don't even, was it maybe a month and a half ago? I called you one morning. I was working out and I needed to share the idea, share it with somebody. I remember audio messaging you. Yeah. But I will be releasing or opening up the gym real estate company. And essentially I'll have nationwide representation, and the gym real estate company is going to help gym owners lease and buy commercial buildings.
So are we going to start seeing your face on garbage cans and buses across the country? Are you thinking about buying a gym?
I would love that. Right next to the bail bonds ads, like on the park bench.
Hire the adult problem child.
Yeah, no. So I'm going to be licensed in a handful of states. I've got a lot of clients in similar states. So ones that I can get reciprocity, I will get licensed there as well. Licensed in North Carolina, but I'll have a relationship with other brokers. But essentially, I'm going to do what no one else has ever done. I'm going to provide a full service broker. And if anyone's listening to this, your broker might have been a friend of your aunt or a second cousin or a random member at the gym. And I bet you they forwarded a bunch of emails. And I bet you they scheduled some showings. But at the end of the day, I bet you drove around your town 1,000 times to find the right building. I bet you when your broker showed you the place next to the Subway, you said, come over here, Chaz. No, I can't be next to a fucking Subway. We drop barbells, motherfucker. That's not going to work.
I have never rented a building that was for rent. ever.
Yeah. So same here. I never rented a building for rent either. Every building I went to rent had someone else in it that coincidentally, because I was working very hard and smart, and I asked them, "Hey, are you ready to leave?" And they said, "Yes." Yes. Same
every
here.
time. Every time.
But what I'll be able to provide is for gym owners who do need to just lease and they want to lease smart. They'll have someone who's able to look and do operational capacity analysis of there, figuring out how many people based on that. I've partnered up with CAD drawing experts to do 2D and 3D renderings of the facility once we sign an LOI and we're going to move forward with a very specific facility. And then obviously walk people through lease negotiations and the purchasing process A to Z if they so choose. This is something, again, even if you're never going to buy a building, that means you're going to lease a lot of them, which is fine. There are so many misses. And you and me were just discussing a recent client of yours, like some lease misses that someone had that they just signed because the broker doesn't get the fitness industry.
Yes.
They don't understand what you need. They don't understand that first right of refusal and the right to quiet enjoyment are two clauses that have to be in there. Vibration, audible clause. Like there's all these things, and brokers are just a dime a dozen. They're not only showing you a property, they're showing a fucking sewing shop a property, and they're showing a fucking office space a property.
And they might represent the seller.
Yeah, and correct. So that's where there's no one doing this just for the fitness industry. So people will be able to sign on and have the gym real estate company, me, be their broker. And I'll be able to go and work for them. I'll be the fun part of the thing I'm really excited about, Sean. I'm actually be traveling out to go with the clients, travel and visit the sites, and and again help them from A to Z. And there's no other broker firm out there that does this for the fitness industry. So I'm really excited about it.
So are you going to have sunk costs with clients? So let's say, for example, I want to find a space, and I might hire someone like you to do this because I'm in a situation where I'm opening gym, I'm just not getting members into it, right? I want my film studio to look like a gym, so I need a appropriate space, and we might be loud. Don't know. You fly out and look for spaces with me. You're staying in a hotel or an Airbnb. You're paying for your travel. You're paying for your food. You're going to drop a few $1,000s every time you come out. What if 6 months later we still haven't found a place and we don't move forward? Do you get paid or do you just lose that money?
Yeah, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to have everyone sign a 1-year representation agreement. So for 1 year from the date we sign, I am your broker, and you can re-sign with me after that as well. The way brokers get paid, the nice thing about this, all that service, the 3D renderings, the operational capacity, I'm even going to be doing market analysis. I've got a girl who's going to be doing heat maps and stuff. If you do have a specific demo and you're looking for a building in a certain area, we'll do heat maps. Brokers get paid a commission of 3% of the life of the lease. Now, if you're looking to rent a 1,000 square foot building for $1,000 a month for 1 year, I'm probably not flying out to come see you. It's not worth my time. However, if the commission on the fair, and I can look in your area and I know what the comps are going to be, I'm able to look at that and say, this is a project I'd be willing to work with you on because it'll be financially feasible for me, and it's going to benefit you because of all the things I'm bringing to the table, the business coaching, all this. Then yes, we move forward with that project. But there will be plenty of, there will be probably scenarios where unfortunately it doesn't work. I can guide you remotely. I can help you out with some of the stuff. I can do that kind of thing.
I'm more thinking about your downside. I'm thinking about, let's say I say, Stu, I want to find a 7,000 square foot space. My lease is going to be about $10,000 a month. I'm looking to sign for 10 or 20 years. And you're like, yeah, I'm down for that. And then a year later, we still haven't found anything, but you have spent $5,000 to $10,000 of Stu dollars trying to help me find it. Do I have any expenses as your client on the front end to help you do that?
You won't. And again, I'm fortunately insulated by your requirements. So if you're a gym who has to re-sign a lease, but you don't want to re-sign at your current location, so you're out looking, well, you're going to do one of the two things. We're either going to find a location within a year, or you're going to re-sign at your current place. And guess what? I'm still the broker in your current place, and there's a commission paid out there. That's the way that would work. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think if I do this well enough to a point where it's the thing, holy fuck, that's how it should be. The broker industry should be. And I think brokers, truly it's a crap, not what I call it. It's a fucking racket of a job. Because they forward some emails, they schedule some showings, that's it. And then they make the brokers on my deal for my building make $188,000 split between the two of them.
Right. For
forwarding a total of 30 emails and booking 24 showings. That's still not worth $188,000 fucking dollars.
No.
Now, my example is extreme, but still, I see it as a good opportunity. And because I truly believe in the end state, helping micro gym owners get to retirement, I'm hoping that more of the business over time becomes the purchase of buildings and getting to that stage and educating people through this process. Because I just don't see another viable opportunity for retirement for micro gym owners compared to this double dip opportunity of purchasing real estate.
I love it. Stu, anything else you want our listeners to hear? Because I think you
the only
gave them a
last
lot.
thing, guys. So I'm dropping this in January. You're going to see a lot more news on it. But however, right now, in the link in my Instagram bio, we have a form. If you are somewhat interested in either leasing or purchasing commercial property, and you just would like to have a quick conversation, talk about it a little, go to the link in my Instagram bio, fill out the form. It's going to ask you a couple questions about what you're looking for, what state you're in, all that stuff. You'll see it says Jim Real Estate Company, and then I'll be reaching out to you personally. But I'm excited about this. And Sean, I don't take for granted. I know your audience size and the impact you have in the fitness industry. I really appreciate you, giving me the opportunity to come on here and share the retirement story and talk about the Jim Real Estate Company. Really, I do appreciate it, buddy.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to do it.
Active Lifers, I have a favor to ask you. If you enjoyed the show, we pride ourselves on bringing value to you through the lens of bridging the gap between fitness and healthcare. The best way for you to support this podcast is by reviewing this episode wherever you listen. Please give us a 5-star review and share this episode with a friend. Your support helps so much. Send a screenshot of your review to us on our Instagram account at ActiveLifeRx. As a thank you, we'll gift you a special PDF with the most common mistakes made when working out and how to correct them.